Hello, my friends. Looking far away, we can see nothing but endless stretches of brown sand. But behind these sandy winds are herds of livestock stretching out in the blazing desert sun. And these tents, like milestones, mark the intersection between intense vitality and the harshness of nature. Welcome to the Gobi, one of the most barren lands in the world. This is a cold desert and grassland, with winter temperatures sometimes reaching 40 degrees F and summer temperatures reaching up to 122 degrees F. Let's explore how in this harsh environment farmers graze their cattle. In fact, livestock grazing has become an important part of desert farmers' daily life. It is also their main source of income. In the livestock herd, camels usually account for one half, while sheep and goats will account for about one half. Horses make up only a small percentage, often concentrated in the lush semi-desert areas of the southeast. Livestock farmers mainly concentrate in areas with water sources and steppes, because this not only ensures farmers will have good grazing areas for their livestock, but also makes their daily lives more convenient. You can see herds of horses, sheep, goats, and camels seemingly roaming freely with little sign of herders. In this desert, in the summer, all animals will graze freely. However, they are still managed by the men in the family. Farmers use motorbikes to follow behind their livestock, keeping an eye on them and making sure they are not in danger. Unlike the Arabian deserts, where livestock can return in the evening for more food, Gobi herds often stay on this grassland until late summer. With significant temperature fluctuations between morning and evening, summer days last well past 9 p.m. Livestock can bask in the long hours of sunlight, grazing on wild grasslands. It seems that they also do not succumb to the harsh nature. Mongolia is one of the last remaining pastoral nations on Earth. Their economy depends on livestock, and they spend almost their entire lives attached to grasslands. This is a wonderful view that I'm sure you won't find anywhere else. Hidden behind the sunlight, the silhouettes of camels and herders were printed on the sand. Not only that, it also depicts a nomadic culture typical of the Gobi Desert. Winters have become more severe with global warming, it directly affecting the lives of pastoralists. Nevertheless, nomadic life continues to exist in this vast land, and some forgotten cultural traditions are gradually being revived. We come together with the camels. The species is considered a symbol of endurance in harsh environmental conditions. They adapt well to the unique hot and cold weather of the Gobi Desert. This livestock species brings many benefits to grazing farmers. Besides economic benefits, large camels are used to transport goods and furniture for migratory trips. Of course, they are also considered great means of transportation when crossing deserts and mountains. Besides, camels also provide food sources for grazing farmers. In the morning, when dawn comes, it is also the time when farmers start to leave their tents. They visited the camels and prepared them for grazing. Grassy areas near tents will be given priority. Then, as the grass dwindled, they began to move farther across the valley over the rolling hills. Farmers say camels are a non-breeding species when kept in a small group. Instead, their population only increases when kept in a large herd of camels. While waiting for the meal to be prepared, the farmers will milk and chat with each other. They mainly talked about camels, livestock farming, and the weather. Within an hour, the farmer finished milking more than 40 camels outside the barn. In just 3 winter months, on average, they sell about 2 tons of fermented camel milk to the market, generating a certain amount of income. As you travel through the vast wilderness of the Gobi, you will witness sudden sandstorms. Or one day there were warm, peaceful days, but the next day there was a snowstorm. Occasionally, herders who lived for many years in the Gobi would still get lost in heavy dust storms and snowstorms. When they didn't know which direction their tent was, they would release the rope from the camel they were riding, letting it roam freely. The miracle is that it walks leisurely without losing direction in any blizzard. The farmers will be sent home before they even know it. There is no doubt that camels are indeed very intelligent and intuitive animals. When the snow begins to melt, farmers will let their livestock graze across the pastures. Just like that, camels will wander for food from the steppe to the vast semi-desert areas. A day in the busy life of livestock farmers often passes quickly. The farmer and his camels were quietly returning, preparing to end a tiring day. If camels adapt well to the dry conditions of desert environments, goats are also drought resistant and can find food in limited grassland areas. For goat farmers, every day, in addition to grazing and giving the goats food and water, they also harvest hair. The collected fur is used to make carpets, scarves, and handicrafts. The number of goats in each herd is not much, but it is still maintained, because the diversity between camels and goats helps farmers minimize livestock risks and optimize resources. Life for pastoralists in the Gobi Desert is a difficult journey. They often have to move with their livestock, building portable tents to protect them from the cold wind. At the same time, protect them from the risk of earthquakes or sandstorms. You are seeing images of farmers packing up their tents and preparing for their journey. The group of people and livestock continued to migrate. They went with worries. Because they faced the challenge of finding food for their livestock in poor soil environments, herders are forced to move in search of new grazing areas. You see, to take good care of livestock requires a deep understanding of their behavior and health. This requires patience and discipline, but also helps farmers build strong relationships with their livestock. Farmers are not only herdsmen, but also custodians of their culture and traditions. At the same time, livestock farmers always hope to turn their difficult lives into a meaningful journey. That's why after all the difficulties, we still see this image, mobile tents lying at the foot of the hills. Herds of livestock and livestock farmers still stubbornly endure the harshness of the Gobi Desert. Hello my friends. At a time when the rains gradually decreased and the grasslands of Western Asia turned brown, donkeys loaded with belongings begin to travel west, following the green grasslands into Central and Northern Europe. Herds of livestock follow the careful guidance of nomads on horseback. Trips like these make up a large part of the lives of nomads and their herds. Unlike settled people who view land and water as long-term investments, nomads depend on their livestock and mainly choose species with a productive lifespan of about 10 years, such as goats and sheep. Depending on the region, nomadic herders will choose to raise different species of livestock, including horses that dominate the steppes, camels in the desert, and yaks in the mountains of East Asia. However, sheep and goats form the basis of livestock herds across Eurasia. Iran has one of the world's largest nomadic populations, estimated at around 1.5 million people. Iran's nomads have been making the same migration for centuries and creating distinctive marks. In spring, they head for the cooler pastures of the Zagros. In late fall, they will return to Iran's oil-rich Khuzestan province. Their herds healthy and well-fed, enough to make it through the cold winters. Nowadays, instead of using horses, some nomads use trucks to bring their livestock to the Iranian highlands near the city of Shelgard to conveniently arrange everything and start their journey. Before dark, this group of nomads found an ideal cliff for shelter. perhaps they will stay here in the near future. Observing, leading, and checking the number of herds, these are all the basic jobs of nomadic livestock herders. Besides herding livestock all day, farmers also have to milk, shave sheep, and feed herding dogs. It is not until the sun sets that they can rest properly. All over coastal Turkey, you'll find groups of nomadic herders like this. They carry everything on donkeys, along with their flocks of sheep and goats. When the sun withers the vegetation on the coast, they move to the alpine plateaus and valleys where there is enough food for livestock until the autumn rains regenerate the grasslands on the coast. While the nomads rest, their herding dogs are still protecting the herd. Throughout the journey, nomads must rely on them to ensure safety and reduce the loss of livestock in the herd. More than just their protective role, herding dogs are also great companions. Whether it's the heat in the arid steppes, rain in the forests, or snow in the high mountains, herding dogs are still there. Sometimes they blend into the herd like this, following closely behind the livestock or silently monitoring the situation from afar. But when danger threatens, they will immediately send a signal to the nomads. Besides herding dogs, donkeys are great companions. You can see this donkey carries all the belongings of the nomad on its back. It works so hard during its long trips from field to field. This 56-year-old man in the nomadic group said that they started their journey 15 days ago, and they have to travel a distance of around 5 to 10 kilometers every day, depending on the weather and road conditions. They have stayed in this area for a long time due to continuous rain, and their journey has around 9 days left. What will happen if they don't have time to migrate to warm areas? When winter comes, things can be very difficult for the nomads. Snow will cover the mountains and their temporary huts. Both nomads, herding dogs, and herds of livestock will try to endure the cold. Even walking around the tent was difficult. This lamb has just been born, but was rejected by its mother. It cannot survive in this cold weather without its mother to protect and keep it warm. So the nomads are milking the lamb's body and training the mother sheep to lick the baby. They are trying to get the mother sheep to accept and protect the lamb. The young animals will travel on donkeys to the pasture, and nomads will let them get used to the environment and play with the mother sheep. Normally, when night comes, livestock will sleep outside like this. But if the nomads have good conditions, they will build temporary tents to be safer. Dark clouds drifted across the valley, pouring down streaks of grey rain. The nomads are preparing to shield their temporary residence. People who herd at night often prepare dry firewood on the sheep's back like this. They sit next to the fire to boil water and warm themselves. Nomads eat, drink, and chat with each other for hours to dispel the cold. At the end of the day, nomads will rest in temporary tents like this. Sometimes they just need a blanket to fight the cold outdoors. In the middle of the night, they need to check several times to promptly detect lurking predators. It is not just the men that work hard. Nomadic women also work very hard. They wake up at dawn, bake bread, and prepare breakfast. They also often make yogurt and cheese from sheep's milk. You can see her hands and face are darkened by the sun, and generations of nomadic women have spent their days living on the steppe like this. Their life is not easy at all. Most remaining nomadic tribes have limited access to medical and educational facilities. Dry winds and dust combined with a lack of water for livestock, have forced them to travel longer distances during their annual migration from the plains to higher, cooler pastures. Droughts and wildfires caused by heat have destroyed their grazing lands. It seems that the herders are gradually being pushed out of the steppe. Besides this, humans' needs are increasing, and maintaining this lifestyle has become more difficult. You see, their children were born in tents and grew up there. But with the development of modern society, children have a need for learning and a stable life. The next generation of nomads are gradually decreasing in number. Still, some nomads are still trying to hang on through their love of the roads and livestock. A Kazakh man said that he had become accustomed to this lifestyle for around 31 years and could not live any other way. Traveling through the mountains, grazing herds of livestock, and hearing the bells of the goats is wonderful to him. Nomads have been doing this since they were children and will try to teach this way of life to their children as well. When they feel the fresh breeze of autumn telling them that the cold days were approaching, the nomads begin to walk to warmer areas with their families, their livestock, and all their possessions. They have moved this way across the wild lands for centuries, constantly searching for green pastures and milder weather. Mountains, rivers, plains, and deserts were and still are the homeland of nomads and their herds.